Here we go. Let's click play. A nice anime intro. Good music, good everything so far. It's got that, like, the backgrounds have a Ghibli feel, but I wouldn't say the characters do. They're a little bit more simplified than that. Getting kind of like a cat soup feel from them. Or, I don't know, this reminds me kind of like having a pixel art game and having this level of CG is more like PS1 era, like Alundra or something. You got Tanuki and Yokai and Tengu. First one was Tengu, some owl there. Cool. Yeah, really nicely done intro. Okay, so here we go. We got this cute cat sprite animation here, like the roll animation. Pretty simple, like, yeah. You got 2-frame animation for the C here by the looks of things. Yeah, so 2 frames. Some obvious seams around the tiles that I think could maybe have been worked out a little bit more. I'll probably look more into that in a minute. Nice. Really, really nice animations. They got a lot of life into them for the limited number of frames they have. Cool. Okay, let's enter this tournament. It's cute. The extremes on these frames are really nice. You could tell that whoever did the art for the characters for this specific minigame had, and for the basic walk and stuff, had a pretty strong background in animation. Cool. So, like, looking at the tiles and the basic sprite work we're seeing here, maybe we'll check this out first. So, okay, so, I mean, these are pretty good. I'm curious with, like, the portraits. I feel like there's a little bit more that could have been done. Here, let's take a look here. File new. Alright. So we have this portrait here. Let's find out the base resolution. So there's an easy way to find out the base resolution of these kind of things. You're also getting some bilinear filtering. So what I'm guessing is you see this softness around the outside of the pixels. Because it's in a web browser, I'm guessing it scales to the closest resolution, and then afterwards it bicubic scales it to whatever is going to fit in the frame. So there's a little bit of filtering. So this is a set pixel here. So if we just pick a color and we go diagonal across it. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's about 6 times. So why don't we go to image size? Okay, we need a 6 of that. So just pull up calculator. And let's do 342 divided by 6. So 57. Let's go 57 and see how that goes. Oh, first, before we do that, image size, set this from automatic to nearest neighbor. That will change it from doing, nearest neighbor finds the closest whole pixels and then scales it within that. Resolution of this might be a little bit off, but it's close enough. So one thing that we can do right away with this is just, I think that you have this lighting on the one side of the beak and things like that. And I think that I personally probably would have maybe enhanced that a little bit, just set a very specific lighting direction and then run with it. So I probably would have just had more shadow going along this side of the face, and then the undersides just a little bit more to reinforce the current light that we have. Same with this here, maybe just pull this down a little bit. You can have a little bit of this on here too, just to add some definition to some of these things. And I would probably just grab like one of the midtones here and add some shine to the beak, and then maybe have some reflected light on the nostril. It's too dark. Let's go darker tone over here. Just to have a little bit of that lower beak, and then you could have something similar with this here. So anyways, that's just like probably what I would have done a little bit more of, but I mean, it's fine the way it is. It's just a slight. I just would have, I think, been more like looking for one specific lit direction to represent. Yeah, great either way. Let's see what else we got. Destroying red. Okay, nice. So we can tell a couple of things from the base resolution of the game, right? So why don't we do that right now? Because the whole aesthetic, it kind of reminds me of early Super Nintendo games. So let's take a look at, let's find whatever the base resolution of this is. All right, so just grab this real quick. I'm guessing if we pull this in, it's probably going to be somewhere around 300. So if we look at 1 pixel, go across, so 4 or 5. So let's do image size, let's do percent, 20%. Will take us down to a fifth of the base resolution. That looks pretty much exactly on. So a couple of things that we can take from this. So you got like pretty strong seams on the tiles. You can see exactly where these things are tiling. This reminds me like much more clearly of early level 16-bit games. So not like, I wouldn't say this is 8-bit by any stretch of the imagination. There's too many colors and things. We can actually find out, let's find out exactly how many colors there are. So if we just take this and we go export, save for web, we can see it's currently, even if we increase this 512, it's hard because of all the bilinear filtering, it's not going to be exactly representative. But if we do it to like 16 or one of these will look almost exactly the same. So it looks like it's maybe 128 colors. 128 colors seems to be getting like more or less the exact palette that's going on over here. All right, so a couple of things. We can take one of these tiles, and I'm guessing these tiles are about 16 by 16. Let's just copy that. Let's see what it is. Image size, yeah, we're looking around 15, 16 pixels. My guess would be 16 by 16. Typically with games, you go by factors of 2, probably in relation to how it used to fill memory, because memory does the same thing. You get, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, so on and so forth. And it's the same with tile sizes. Almost always we work at 16 or 32 or 64 by 64 or 128, 256, and so on and so forth. So these are just some of the base limitations. And what this really reminds me of is kind of like base level. So if you look at a game like Soul Blazer. So Soul Blazer for the NES, for the Super NES. So this had very similar kind of tile work and stuff as far as I'm concerned. You end up with more of these kind of set tiles that are clearly defined, and this is kind of like what early Super Nintendo games look like. You end up with a lot more like straightforward tiles. Same was like Final Fantasy IV or 2 in North America, but Final Fantasy IV for Super Nintendo, their maps were very similar to this. So if you look at their, let's see if we can get in. But you get very much this similar kind of aesthetic compared to later Super Nintendo games. So if you look at like Illusions of Gaia, which is the game right after Soul Blazer. So if you look at a game like Illusion of Gaia, there's a big difference with how they handle tiles by this point in time. They have more, they're doing more diagonal drawing across tiles to fight the appearance of things looking as tiled, right? And just a little bit more trickery with this kind of things, the same kind of advancements. So this is kind of like what you see with late generation Super Nintendo games versus early generation. And you see the same things happening with like Final Fantasy VI as well. Final Fantasy VI. You see, very similar things where you're getting a little bit more advanced with the tile work. You still have tiles, but you have like even these shaded under tiles, just slight more trickery involved with how they hid the limitations of the system. So done a pretty good job kind of getting that early 16-bit aesthetic. Let's go and see what these games are like. If the portraits aren't all done evenly, some of them are definitely better than other ones. That's cute. Same thing here, I probably just would have pulled up the mid-tone and just set more specific directions for the lights. The crab's pretty awesome. It's like a tough crab. You see the dog's portrait. Yeah. So what game is this? Okay, we got the Tanuki. Really, really great art direction on these trailers. The color palette's so it's a very harmonious color palettes. This animation's so cute. Animation's cute. No transitions between animations, but transitions typically slow down how quickly these things operate anyways, so there's a downside to having transition animations between everything. Whereas you get very fast response if you don't. It's so hard to read where your shadow is when you can jump that high. Points right at the end. Make it up. Okay. Wish I could manual into the next trick like Tony Hawk and just keep the parade going. Does it keep going until you land? No. Okay. So won that one. Good to go. This animation at the end always reminds me of E Honda from Street Fighter 2. Okay, let's move on to the next one. There's probably like so many little things that I'm missing just by going straight to these mini games. Okay. Adjusting water transition there. I gotta change this. Kind of reminds me of the mother at the end of Ponyo. Up until that point. So these are more simple. They look like single color designs. So this turtle's a little square on the side, but these animations are really cute. Like the cat doing the different poses. Typical rhythm game. Fun. Nice. Okay. Cool. You make the cat dance like crazy afterwards. Yeah, very much reminds me of the last scene in Ponyo. Okay. Cute. These trees are fun. Is there anyone here worth talking to? See some portraits. So there's like this flatness here that's not necessarily carried on the bottom. This is nice. I like this underwater temple. Looks pretty cool. Tiles. When I made tile-based games, I always worked like crazy to try to mask these perfectly straight edges. Try to make them as organic as humanly possible. See if I can find an example of that. 1 second. Scroll down. Should be the very bottom. So the maps that I did for Star Renegades, I was always trying like crazy to mask the seams on the edges to try to make them as organic as possible, which was a nightmare in some cases when I was designing all of these tile sets. But yeah, I mean, tile sets are hard, and adding more variety tiles and things like that to try to get that sense. You get these weird lines because of how our engine breaks them up if you don't do a proper port of them. But if you play the game, none of those seams are in there. This is just the easiest way for me to take snapshots of it. But yeah, I tried my best to avoid those kind of straight lines, but sometimes they were inevitable, and you'd see like all of these little breaks I'd have in the glyph edges, trying to cover that kind of stuff up. But you end up using a lot of tiles, so it cuts into the simplicity of your game doing stuff like that. And sometimes the simplicity is really nice. Yeah, I mean, it's a similar thing with this portrait here. I probably would just do the same thing. I would probably just ramp up those midtones, and then that's what I would do. But, they have the really consistent, simplistic look that seems to work pretty well for it. Archery game. Okay, let's do this. Are cute. So when it comes to this background, I probably would have just done a bit more with the C tiles as they go further out. They work in this, but I would probably, like, my personal desire would be to make the C really seem like it, as things got further away, that there was adding some perspective to it, but I know that the game design kind of gets in the way of that. I'd still try to force it in some way or another, and not while hurting gameplay, while keeping gameplay the same, but maybe just that highest tier of water I would start shrinking down a bit more, because you have the boats that kind of give the perspective of looking at something on the side view, but then all of these other things are on the top view. But it's like a very harsh transition just on the top layer, so we probably would have done something with the top two sprite layers. They did a pretty good job shifting the colors of each of those layers as they went up. Okay. See, when it comes to like the last video I did with Alex Kidd, I would much prefer having these nice kind of pixel art animations on secondary objects like this scarf here than using it on using it physics. It just doesn't match the pixel art of the game, so you'd have some element that's taking you out of the pixel art. Even though it's dynamic and it reacts, it's like, I'd take this personally any day over that. It's just much cuter, and like, it is a beautiful secondary animation, how it happens like one frame delayed on each of its idols, but it's very exaggerated and has a nice feel. Oh, the owl quest. Let's take this one on. I like the owl animation on the top. I'm finding this specific wall tile set comes off really flat. I probably would have done something just like having big shifts in tone to try to offset some of that a bit more. Having like more parts completely cascaded in shadow. I don't trust that jump. Up here. Okay, done. Nice. Fun little game. That hard edge on the cloud, things like that. I've done a lot of clouds, so typically I avoid doing that wherever possible. That animation. It's great animation, and all of those. Cute. That's really weird. So we have this clearly bilinear scaled object amidst that. I don't know whether it's just aligning, but it's here and here and here, and then this is what it's supposed to look like. So something weird is happening there. That would have driven me nuts. This is the kind of thing that the game will ship with an error like that, and then I'm like, I complained about this, why is it still there? But it just, you know, oftentimes you just don't have time to resolve it. It's hard to know, it could just be a bug, could have been something I triggered that all of a sudden starts filtering those things differently. Like these bamboo shoots. Cute. Like good enough variety of them. Oh, I got a Tengu. Cute animations. Alright. the poses, the frames are really well done there. It's kind of like Kong or something like that. It's good that they got to reuse the animation set that they did for your character, so they just had to do one additional character's worth of animation for this. It's another way to get a game out of it. Should probably use it as soon as I can, or as soon as this football's on the table. Oh no! Just missed a bunch. It's way over there. Bad balls on there, nice. 4 more to go. Awesome. Cute. I really like the big sprite on the Tengu there. They did a good job with that. They kept the animation, the quantity of frames pretty limited. I can see, well, I don't even know, is that only like a 6-frame cycle? They're really well thought out frames, so I gotta give them props there. Whoever worked on this, they could tell they definitely cared about this kind of aesthetic. This is a nice little touch, having the darkened layer to match the height distance, so you get a sense that this is the shadow being cast onto it. This is something that I did in depth. We actually had to cheat it with how we did it, but part of it was a tile layer and part of it was a real cast shadow in Star Renegades for that. So I did a 3-ring tile of animated ocean, like little tiles like that, and then that you place so that we would paint in tiled under each of these assets, and then on top of that they cast dynamic shadows to kind of give an even more organic feel. You can see the dynamic shadows casting, but that's how we achieved that kind of look. They're doing the same kind of thing here with the bridge, but I did it everywhere just to give that kind of sense of depth everywhere we could. Cute. 2 frames of animation here. I went way too crazy with animation when most of the games that I do, I had too many frames. Sometimes to my detriment, when it's like, it would work just as well with much less. Okay. Cute. I love how, oh, got grabbed. I love how the first, they have like these, that's very, is either Emperor's New Groove or, oh no, I didn't want to share anything. Hercules, that's it. Disney's Hercules. Definitely seen stuff like that with Hercules. Okay, let's go over here. This lightning. Nice. Text me, I guess. Got him. That dog's cute. Oh no, I got caught. Shield again. Oh, look, one. Nice. Cute. I mean, the game was a good design for reuse of assets. Looks like they had to make a bunch of extra character sprites, which, given the set of limitations, I wouldn't personally be overwhelmed by that. It's a cute little idle animation, just having the cat blink. Yeah. So, cute way to do this overall. I think these trees are kind of nice. I probably would have personally picked like one lit direction for everything, and then I would have drawn all the trees and everything like that, and the tiles as well, but this works well too. It's just a different kind of aesthetic. The transition, this transition for seeing what ground is playable, the fact you can walk over there and you can't walk on this, and then you go here, that's a bit hard to read. But, okay. This reminds me of the island from Photo Alchemist here in this scene. I don't know what it is about it. Avoid obstacles. There we go. Okay, got some run cycles. I'm guessing they have like different states in the animation. Oh yeah, you get like more intense little runs. That's cute. I love that, the even more intense run there. That's nice. Oh, that particle. I would have probably personally done like a different intensity of particle generated on the, at least the last two. So it's like I would have like a little spritz of sand coming up off the feet, and then I would have this big one afterwards. The big one's really nice. They have that a really nice extreme animation drawn there. I appreciate that. Oh no, I hit that. How is he so close? He's doing so well. Okay, okay. Come on, get the speed up. Done. Nice. Awesome. Are they gonna get a wish? These are the Dragon Balls? Oh, they wished for Eternal Spring! Magnificent. That's fun. You know, when it comes to doing effects like this, usually you just animate like a cycle on somewhere between like 1 to 6 petals maybe, and then you just generate them all over the place, and you do different patterns of how they generate and different scales, and it's tons of fun to play with that effect once you've already drawn the base animations. Especially just setting the timing offset different between each of them makes it very hard to tell how looped they are. Yeah, I did a very similar animation with, here, let's see if I can find it. I did a promotional image for Raw Fury for Whispers of a Machine. Let's see if I can find it. It's looping in the corner here. Yeah, you can see I did, I think I did 3 different types of animations, and I just cycled them and ran them at different speeds, and I used it, so there's different sizes of the same animation. And you can do quite a bit just playing around with leaf animations. I've had to do this in, I did a different version of this effect in Star Renegades and for a couple other games that I've worked on, but it's a fun little thing to do. But yeah, anyways, they did a really good job with this game. This is a good, fun Google game. Most of it's pretty well done. Does a good job capturing the aesthetic from early 16-bit era games. You know, so if people are looking for that kind of nostalgia of like Genesis, Super Nintendo, they'll get a good kick of it here. And the minigames were pretty fun. I think overall the gameplay was pretty consistently good. So that's that. So yeah, it's just end this up. Anyways, so that was the Google Doodle for the Olympics. It was a fun little thing. Good work to the pixel artists on there. Hopefully you enjoy my reaction video to it and get a little bit of, just a little bit of information of how it was made and what kind of stuff they did there. So anyways, yeah, it looks like it was a fun little game. It was a fun thing to do a quick video of. And anyways, I hope you like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.